Gavin was trending today. Gavin Newscum was trending today, and not Newscum. 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 It's always new scum every day. Every day is a different set of scum that we have to deal with. And what was going on with him? Let's analyze. I told you that we were going to analyze his body language, and that is exactly what we're about to do. But let's hear from the guy what he has to say.
We have a president-elect, and I'm one of those people. I revere the institution. I revere this country. I revere the presidency. And
let me raise the volume because I don't think that you're. Let me see my mixer. Make sure that.
And I want our president to succeed.
I want our president to succeed. I have some problems with his. First, he's using a very lousy way of recording this. You tell me that a governor doesn't have some kind of like the tiniest media department. A media department can be just one guy, okay? Whoever sets the camera and makes sure to edit what he does. It's not that you're gonna have like the whole selfie studio like Justin Trudeau. You don't have to go all the way, but at least you could record your voice better. Voice is very important, and no, he seems to not care much about that. And we have heard Gavin Newscum in videos with better audio. So what happened this time? Maybe he was not into that. He was not that much into praising Donald Trump as the new president of the United States.
We have a president-elect, and I'm one of those people. I revere the institution.
Notice that the first thing that he does, and when he says the words, "We have a president-elect," how do you see his shoulders? How do you see his shoulders? He's like this. He's hunched. His shoulders are raised. He's in this defensive posture. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like what he's saying. It's after he says that he finally relaxes his shoulders.
I'm one of those people. I revere the institution.
When he says, "I revere institution," that's when he relaxes his shoulders. But still, he presses his lips just a tad, just a bit.
I revere this country. I revere the presidency. And I want our president to succeed. And our job, my job, is not to wake up every single day and get a crowbar and try to put it in the spokes of the wheel.
I have heard Gavin Newsom speaking many times. You know that having a sense of what is someone's body language baseline, what is their usual body language, how is their usual rate of speech, how they communicate in as many videos as possible, you have a better idea. That way you have a better idea of what is their usual body language or their body language baseline. I don't remember the last time I heard him speaking with so many filler words. That's something that I have developed over time. I'm sure that he has developed over time. He already had the gift of gab, right? That silver tongue. I want to have the silver tongue in English. These lives are the perfect exercise every day to have that silver tongue at some point. But why does Gavin Newscum have so many filler words? Is he nervous? I don't think so. There's nobody around him. It's just a camera. Is he upset? Maybe. There's no reason that he has filler words if he knows what he's going to say. And once you have some experience with public speaking, as long as you don't use teleprompters all the time, which would be a very bad idea because sometimes you have to give speeches with just a mic. You don't have teleprompters. You have to encourage people. And I know that Gavin Newsom has the ability to do that. There's so many options here. Let's hear a bit more. Let's listen a bit more of this.
And get a crowbar and try to put it in the spokes of the wheel of the Trump administration. And so again, in that spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist, that's how we want to proceed. That said, here comes the part. Do you know that
You know that when I remember this Dilbert strip, this Dilbert comic, it said that you can say anything you want after, with all due respect. And that was a good joke. You can say anything you want after you say the words, with all due respect. Try not to do it at work, please. I am not responsible of how you use it. You can imagine how the joke goes. But this was his with all due respect. And now is when he's going to be the complaining and all the stuff that he really wants to say. You know, maybe that's the reason why he was mumbling and all those filler words, because this is what we're about to hear is what he really wants to say.
Fourth point, I'm not naive either, and we're pragmatic, and we will stand firm. I am reminded there's a great old poem about, the winds may howl, but I will not be swept away.
Okay, that was anticlimactic. That was no. I really was hoping for something stronger, something with more substance, especially if you're going to cite a poem. It would help if you cite the poem and you say who wrote. Let's say if he says who wrote the poem.
This notion that we have to plant our feet.
Okay, he says
a poem about, the winds may howl, but I will not be swept away.
The winds may howl. Now that we're talking about wind veins, the winds may howl, but I will not be swept away. Who wrote this? I don't know. This is just a mess. There's so many. The things that. Who says this? Who said this? I'm trying to look for a source. Mike Duncan. I think it says. I think that Mike Duncan. All right. Yeah, it says it's Mike Duncan. But you know how difficult that is to confirm that. I just wanted to say that. He could have said, that gives you power. Just a tip, if you want to say that, if you want to cite a quote somebody, a poem or a passage or something, it is much more stronger when you mention the person, because that gives you, it is not a storytelling, but mentioning the person, the author of the quote, makes it more memorable and more impactful. Seems that Newscum doesn't care about any of this. He just wants to get this over. This is lazy. He looks lazy doing this way. Not that I care, really. It's his problem, not mine.
This notion that we have to plant our feet. And I remember, I'm not, I've been here long enough, having worked with the...
Okay, notice his eyes when he says the words, I have been here long enough.
And I remember, I'm not, I've been here long enough.
Oh, this is the pleasure. I have been long enough. He is delighted of having been there long enough. Destroying California, of course. Yeah, and I agree that it has been long enough. We need somebody to just replace him ASAP. You see the raising of the eyebrows. You see the long blink. A long blink is something that the person is not only blinking, like closing their eyes like this, but they have this sense of, in this case, delight, and you see that their eyes close for, a longer time than a regular blink.
And I remember, I'm not, I've been here long enough, having worked with the...
Having worked with whom? Gavin. Having worked with
previous Trump administration. I'm not naive about those wins.
Okay, we'll talk about the wins again, and we still don't know who wrote the wins part. Again, it was lousy.
And they did howl. We were involved.
And they did howl. This is Kamala level. This is getting into Kamala Harris level territory. Kamala grade speech. I mean, we have a lot of work to do. 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 23 days, 23 days, 23 days. Yeah. Kamala could be the governor of California. I'm not gonna give her ideas, but this is the bar that anybody has to overcome to become governor of California. That's what I tell you. I am not afraid of repeating this once again. Meghan Markle speaks better than these people. And you know that Meghan Markle does not sound authentic. She does not sound authentic, but she speaks better than whatever is Gavin Newscum doing here, and seriously better than Kamala Harris, that for sure. So Meghan has that.
Involved in over 100, well, in fact, we were involved in specifically 122 lawsuits with the Trump administration.
Okay, that is quite a lot. Why so much conflict, Gavin? Why so much conflict? Maybe you were fighting for a better California against the Trump administration? That is my question. Is California better right now, thanks to cooperating with the Biden-Harris administration? How many lawsuits did you have with the Biden-Harris administration? My guess is 0. I have no information about that. My guess is that it was 0, Gavin.
We know their playbook. We know what they're going to do. I talked a lot about the campaign, and I appreciated Kamala Harris's closing message about Donald Trump has an enemies list, and she said, have a to-do list.
I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm going to say something. It's not that Trump has an enemy list, but there are certainly enemies here. And you, Gavin Newscum, you are enemy number 1 of California. You have destroyed a beautiful state. We can rebuild California. We can get San Francisco back. We need you out as soon as possible. You need to be out as soon as possible.
I said I would make it a modest addendum to that. So did Donald Trump. That to-do list is laid out in a 922-page document, of which there's 270 specific points that he has publicly supported in that Project 2020.
I was about to say one of the strong words, F sake. I cannot believe that by this point they are still talking. I can understand, Gavin. You know, through Kamala Harris campaign, all you had was lies, all you had was hoaxes, all you had was Project 2025. I understand you had no policies. You couldn't help Kamala. Nobody could help Kamala in the least. She was alone. Obama was banging his head against the wall. Tim Walz tried to help her on that first CNN interview, and he said, "You know what? I'm out. I will not be with her in any other interview because this was embarrassing." And no, he wasn't with her in any other interview. But claiming to Project 2025 now is asinine. This tells you that these people have no clue. And my biggest concern is that there are still people voting for Democrats and liberals who then destroy their cities. And these people ask the question, oh, why is this happening to the city? You literally voted for this. You literally voted for the streets full of shit. You literally voted for that. Maybe that was not in the campaign. Maybe that was not outlined in the campaign. But those are the results. Streets full of poop, of human excrements, of people just totally zombified because of drugs, of homeless encampments, of well, things that I could describe in here, but it's not worth it at the moment.
5 document, which 75% of its authors, and there's a multitude of authors, worked with the Trump administration. None of us are naive when he said he knew nothing about it. That is a to-do list. That is a playbook. The Heritage Foundation and others backing that playbook. You build on that.
The Heritage Foundation supported Kamala Harris, and they said that they had nothing to do with Donald Trump. By the way, Gavin,
not naive.
No, you are not naive. We know that you are not naive. You're telling the truth, Gavin. You are not naive. You're just another politician who wants to put some kind of a strong face, and he's not wearing a suit, he's not wearing a tie, he's wearing what? An open color white shirt. The whiteness. Why is he wearing white? Why is he wearing white? You know, my lovely body language buddies, we have been together for so long. You know what wearing white means. I'm pure. My intentions are pure, but I am not naive. No, you're a demon. You're a devil. You have destroyed the livelihood of so many people, and so many companies have left California for Texas, and that is not good for the economy of your state, the state that people voted you to do something about it. And well, that's how it went. That's how it went. So this is the kind of things that I'm telling you. This is why I despise politicians so much. I wish this was more interesting, but yeah, it's something that you expect, right? We're going to analyze Gavin Newscom's body language. You know how it's going to go, but it's so blatant how they say these things to the camera. And I would say with a straight face, but he doesn't even have a straight face, but he has so many filler words that is embarrassing. Why do you sound? You want to put some kind of strong face against Donald Trump and Project 2025. Okay, do it. Go ahead. But at least speak like a man. Not with here and there. That doesn't work. That is so lousy. So amateur. You're an amateur, Gavin. I couldn't believe that I could say this without filler words myself. But I think it was time to do it. It was time to do a proper Gavin Newscum body language analysis. But today's show, it looks slightly pinkish Castellano because of this is another thing, the color mix. I'm going to say that some of my videos used to look like this, like red. This is the right color grading. This, what you see here, is the actual color of my face, and I used to look like that. I'm not gonna lie, I can't make that mistake. But in my defense, I did my not color grading myself. I was really amateur at that. But that's why he looks red and the shirt looks pinkish. But well,